I spent the last 5 years working with women who regret being mothers. My sister asked me to post this here after she kept her work as a secret from me for many years. I think it needs to be heard. In my mid-30s, I was constantly asked by everyone, from family members to complete strangers, about when I was going to have a baby, even in a professional setting. At that time, I hadn't quite made up my mind, and this constant pressure, affecting such a delicate and personal decision, infuriated me and made me want to understand what was behind it. Something was telling me that if people, especially mothers, insisted so much on the indisputable requirement of having children, perhaps things were not as sugar-coated as typically pictured in the media, literature, art, and cinema. It almost felt as if the people asking that question were trying to reaffirm their own decisions. As I began my research, I very quickly discovered that there is a B-side to the story of motherhood which is rarely talked about, and as such, it does not receive almost any attention in the collective imagination. Therefore, I decided to challenge the dominant narrative and shed light on the ultimate taboo surrounding motherhood, a decision that, just like any major decision in life, may be regretted. This was the beginning of my photographic project, Undo Motherhood, which took me to 7 countries from Mexico to Singapore several times over the past 5 years, where I met these incredible women who had the courage to speak honestly about their lives. All the women in the project are excellent mothers and love their children, and yet they hate the oppressive mother role that has robbed them of their own existence. They suffer through it in silence, feeling it to be the worst mistake they have made. Elle from Spain got pregnant at the age of 18 and was forced to carry her pregnancy to term. Her partner turned out to be abusive, and when Elle managed to separate from him, he did everything to harm her, using their daughter as a weapon. All the institutions took the abuser's side. R from Germany grew up in a religious community, believing that her role in life was to be a wife and a mother. Convinced from a very young age that she wanted 4 children, she carried out this idea, but realized in her late 30s that this belief was a huge mistake. T from Israel is lesbian, but when she was young, being gay was against the law. Therefore, she lived the life of an average Israeli woman, getting married young and almost immediately having 2 kids without even giving it a thought. Now in her 60s, she has a feeling of having lived someone else's life. M from Singapore did not want to be a mother, but was talked into it by her husband and in-laws who promised help and family support. M has even undergone IVF treatments to get pregnant. After giving birth, she is now dealing with motherhood alone. The help is almost non-existent, and she cannot afford a divorce. Her and her husband live under the same roof, but as complete strangers. D from Mexico did not want to be a mother, but got unexpectedly pregnant while going through the process of separating from her husband after he had tried to hit her. She considered an abortion, but in Mexico it is allowed only in 2 states, and it was too late for the procedure anyway. N from the Middle East has no clue about raising kids, but her husband insists on becoming parents. His argument was that all childless women over 40 regret not having kids. N used to have a great life, a great job, but now she's stuck alone within 4 walls. Her husband is always absent, and his father role is limited to earning money and enjoying the benefits of freedom. V from the US did not want to be a mother, but her body betrayed her at the end of her 20s, when all of a sudden her biological clock started ticking. She knew it was a mistake the very moment her daughter was born. V accepted her own fault and did everything to shelter her daughter from feeling unloved or unwanted. Today they are best friends. I think it's time to stop idealizing parenthood, and motherhood in particular, and treat it as it is, a very complex and multi-layered human experience. Edit, she is trying really hard to negotiate the release of the photo book depicting these stories. You can see some of the photos and support her efforts here, and the link in the description. The sad thing is that it doesn't stop with these women. The list goes on and on with almost no end. I am pretty sure more women and men regret parenthood, much more than society wants us to believe. It is definitely time to speak up. I visited Central America 10 years ago and was with a group that provides very basic medical clinics within a small community. The amount of women begging us for birth control was astounding. From the conversations I had with some of these women, many already had a few children but could afford to feed and care for them, but they didn't want their husbands to know about getting birth control, as they said it would insult their manhood or egos if they couldn't produce more children. Many of these women left school by 14 or 15 years of age to either work or be married and start a family, leaving their dreams to have an education or a chance to escape severe poverty. Although the clinic couldn't provide the requested birth control, one of their newer nurses created a program specific for women's health, aimed at educating women in this community, and a goal to provide birth control as they grow. I'm so thankful for the privilege of my own healthcare where I live and choose a child-free life, and can't imagine that I wouldn't even have the choice. Whether it's no kids or stopping at 1 or 2, I believe they should at least be afforded the freedom of choice. I remember as a teen, I was staying at my grandma who had 4 kids. She looked at it and she said, "I wish that existed when I was your age. I would never have gotten married or had kids. Maybe one, but that's it." She planted a child-free seed that day. On the contrary, when I got married, I was staying at my in-laws and left my pill on the table with other meds. My father-in-law said to hide that because it's gross. It's not like it was condoms or a bottle of spermicide. It's crazy how such a tiny pill can create strong reactions in different people. I freaking hate how misogynistic the entire situation is. Father-in-law says it's gross to see birth control. Women want to hide the pill to spare their husband's fragile masculinity. Male politicians vilify and criminalize bodily autonomy. It's just so disgusting. It was gross. I said no because I need to remember to take it, and it's just a pill. Not my problem if immediately he thinks about his son boning me. I also think it's because he wanted grandkids fast, maybe? No idea, but that didn't slide. The story of T, the Israeli lesbian, crying. Imagine reaching your 60s and feel like you've lived a life that was never your own. Sounds like a horrific nightmare. That one hit me hard. What a sorrowful feeling. It's difficult to even imagine. Yes, oh my goodness, I felt so incredibly sad for her, and then thought about all other types of people who go through that too. And now I'm just sitting here all sad for those people, frowning. We only have one life, and I wish more people could live it how they want without judgment or pressure. Wow, original poster. Thank you for collecting and sharing all these stories. I really appreciate the way you end your post, specifically saying motherhood is a very complex and multi-layered experience. I think it is. Even for the moms out there who absolutely wanted kids, it will have downsides. And presumably there might be a bit of truth in all parents telling me I'm missing things by being child-free. Nothing is simple or one-dimensional in life, and if we in our societies would be a bit more honest about that and could do a better job in recognizing those multiple facets, I think we would be in a better place. At least more compassionate towards those who make alternative choices. Regarding M from Singapore, man, I pack what I could take, vanish, and start over. He and his parents wanted the kids so bad, they can raise it, and good luck to them. Wishing your sister all the luck in finding a publisher. Women need to hear these stories. The problem with that is that lots of these women still love their children deeply. It's part of why it's so difficult to openly talk about stories like this, because they don't want to damage their children. If they know that just piecing out will leave their kids in a dangerous or miserable situation, they won't do it. Not to mention that even in this very thread, there are plenty of stories of a child just hearing their mother didn't want them once, and it having lifelong repercussions. My mom regretted having me, and because of that I have problems accepting that people love me and other emotional issues. She told me when I was a teenager, and I remember thinking, oh, that makes sense why I thought she hated me. I see it as better to regret not having kids than to regret having one and freaking the kid up. I feel this in my heart. After my mom passed, going through her things, I found a journal of sorts. She mentioned more than once that she felt like she was somebody who probably should have never had kids. She was also a slight narcissist and married to a man with a proven track record for abandoning his kids. I have 2 older half-sisters and I don't even know one of them. My brother and I are both in our 30s now and trying to fight through the consequences of not having a strong, loving family. For this reason, among many others, my wife and I are happily child-free. Regarding, it almost felt as if the people asking that question were trying to reaffirm their own decisions. This is really what it comes down to in my opinion. I'm a fence sitter leaning much more towards the side of no kids, and whenever I've said my stance, I've gotten this knee-jerking reaction from friends being like, what? But why? Even though I'm simply stating my stance, I can feel it shake their own position a bit, as if what I choose to do with my body has any influence on their own, or as if me simply not wanting kids is a judgment onto them. It's quite fascinating in my opinion. Suddenly their position isn't being reaffirmed back to them.